Hello everyone, it's time for a very exciting book video. This is going to be my reading wrap up for the whole summer. So every book I read this summer I'm going to talk about, give my rating, and I don't even want to do a long intro because we have a lot of books to talk about today. I have read such good books this summer, so many like popular summery books I went through, so let's just get into it. I am so excited. So right when I got home from school, I read The Mistake, which is the second book in the Briar U series. This is a series about a friend group of hockey players in college, and each book follows a different boy and like their relationships. They're very cheesy books, but really fun and easy, and if you're in college you'll probably love these. And this was my favorite one so far out of the whole series. I absolutely loved the trope in this book. It was like the boy groveling for the girl the entire time, and I think that's one of my favorite tropes of all time. Like, who doesn't love a good pining for someone? So I gave this book 3.5 stars because there wasn't too much depth to it, but I just love these. I really recommend these for the fall time, especially if you're in college, because like when you're busy, these are just like, you don't have to think really, you can just read them and go by so fast. So love these and love Logan in this book so much. And then I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. 5 stars. This was probably one of my favorite books I read this summer. Every single book I read by Taylor Jenkins Reid is a 5 star to me. I love all of her books, and this one is so beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. It follows a bunch of siblings. Something happens to their mom, so it's just them, and their dad is a famous musician and he's not really in their lives, and it just follows how they do it. Really good summer vibes. They're all surfers. They're all kind of famous, but like not completely famous. All of the characters I love and want the best for them. So yeah, this was 5 stars. Amazing. Next I read Where the Crawdads Sing, and I gave this a 3 stars on Goodreads. But looking back, I feel like sometimes I like jump to conclusions and just like rate it right away, but I feel like this would be a 4 now. I know that this is super hyped and a lot of people probably read this or saw the movie, but I gave this a 3 stars because the beginning is really slow, but once you get to the end, like, you see how the beginning was so necessary. I honestly liked hearing a lot about her childhood alone in the marsh. So yeah, it follows a girl who lives in a marsh all by herself, and she basically raises herself in the wilds and has some romance involved. But I did love this. I don't really know why I gave this a 3 stars, and the movie was really good. I don't know if I've seen a book turn into a movie that was done that well. It just didn't have as much of the beginning of her childhood. I think it was done really well, and you should definitely read the book though before you see the movie because it was really good and gives you more in depth of what happens. And the ending of this book is just worth it to get through the slower parts, and it was so good. And then next I read Every Summer After. This is one of my new favorite books of all time, and probably my favorite book I read this whole summer. This is one of my favorite tropes. It's childhood friends to strangers to lovers, which is so good, and it goes back and forth between their childhood growing up and then now when they're not really together. It's also brothers, so kind of the Summer I Turned Pretty vibes. It's so like real and shows how messy like friendship and relationships and everything in between is, and just how growing up is like difficult. And I just fell in love with the characters in this book. Love all of them, and amazing summer vibes. It's on a lake and just has the best setting ever, so love this book. If you're gonna pick any book out of this whole video to read this. And then I read the whole The Summer I Turned Pretty series. This, I think I have very unpopular opinions about this series. I absolutely love the show. Obsessed with the show. Thought it was done so well, even though it's like a little bit cringe. I lived for the cringe, and I do not feel the same way about the books. I feel like the books are kind of annoying and don't give you everything that you want. Like, the show is really good summer vibes, and the books aren't even that summery. I don't know how to explain that, but like, they don't talk about this setting that often. The first one is a little bit more summery because they are actually at the house, but the other books, like, they're not even at the house that much, and like not at the beach, which is kind of odd to me. They are good, light, fluffy reads. They're the most mindless reads I've ever read as well. Like, you can just read these in one sitting. The font is so large. You can just get by them really quickly. But Belly was pretty annoying to me throughout a lot of this, and the last book was like, what is going on half the time. I did not know why they made so many decisions that they made. I don't know, I just like don't love these, and so many things I was just questioning of what was going on. But I think the show was really good and really well done. Still recommend reading these though, even though I didn't love them, because they're just so fun. And next I read Summer of Broken Rules. I absolutely adore this book. This is the perfect summer vibes. This is like summer in a book. It's based on Martha's Vineyard. It just had the best summer vibes and like wholesome romance. It was just cute the whole way along. The family interactions were cute too, and I gave this a 4.5 stars. And then I read Beatride, and I was not expecting to love this half as much as I did. I didn't love People We Meet on Vacation, but love this. This is another 5-star read for me, and I just felt so many emotions throughout the entire book, like love, forgiveness, resentment, more love, hurt. There was just so much depth to this, which I was not expecting. I love the characters. The boy in the book, Gus, is so perfect. The way he communicates his feelings is so good. And there are so many good quotes throughout this. I had so many things highlighted, and I don't do that often. I don't like annotate, but I did highlight a lot of things in this book because it was so good. And I just had chills throughout this book, and I think I cried at the end, even though it was like happy but sad. I don't know. This was just full of emotions, full of depth, and loved it so much. 5 stars. And then I read Reminders of Him by Colleen. I love this so much. This was a 4-star for me. Maybe even 5. I don't know. This was like really good and so emotional. I definitely cried during this book. I feel like I can't give away too much of the plot without telling you like half of the stuff that happens in the book. Basically, it's like a young mother who's estranged from her child for like certain reasons, and she comes back to kind of get her child back, but it's crazy everything that happens, like so crazy. It was so heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time. I also loved the boy in this book too. He was like so attractive in my brain. I feel like I'm explaining this book really bad, but I feel like you have to go into it with not knowing a lot, so that it's like really shocking. And this is definitely one of my top books from Colleen by far. Obviously everything she writes I like, but this was like really good. And then I read 1,000 Boy Kisses, and this is probably one of the worst books I've ever read. A lot of people, this is like one of their favorite books, and I'm so confused why. So confused. I could barely get through it. I almost didn't finish it. I get that it's like really sad and emotional, but I only cried during the first chapter. And that's because her grandma dies, and I just love my grandparents, so that was sad to me. But the actual like really sad part of the book did not hit me. This was like so cringe. I like could barely read what they were saying half the time, and they were really young for like the way they were speaking to, I don't know, it was just really cringe and annoying at the time, which I'm really sorry if this is one of your favorite books. I just like could not get through it. Sorry, I have notes on my phone because I can't remember all this stuff. Oh, I said it was just really unrealistic and annoying. Like that's basically what I have to say, like super unrealistic. But if you want something to be like sad, I don't know, I don't recommend this book actually. So sorry if you love this book, just not my thing. And then I finally read Love in Other Words. I know that this is like the most hyped book ever, and it totally is for good reason. All my favorite like booktubers, this is their favorite book, and I totally agree. This was so good. I do regret reading Every Summer After before I read Love in Other Words, because it kind of is like the same plot, but I don't know which one I like more, to be honest. They're both so good, and they both have like my favorite trope of childhood friends to lovers to strangers to lovers, you know? I just love these characters. I have nothing but good things to say about them. You can just feel their connection throughout the entire book. Like you just know they're meant for each other, and they're just perfect. Like I don't know what else to say about this book other than read it. Everything people say about it is so true. I read this in one day. It's also written in the past when they're kids, and then the present now when they're adults, and the way that it's written when they're kids is done so well. It's like so cute, and like you can feel just the tension and everything, and I love this so much. And then I read Funny You Should Ask. First of all, this has the cutest cover ever. It's adorable. This was such a fun book, like really easy, short, just fun. It's about a famous actor and a journalist who has to interview the famous actor, and he's like the heartthrob, like really good looking actor that everyone loves. They spend a weekend together. She's interviewing him and everything just starts to unfold. And this is like every girl's dream pretty much in this book. So it's just really fun to read and like see how everything happens. It didn't have that much depth, but I did really like the characters. And it was just a really fun, easy read overall. And I really liked hearing about the behind the scenes of like the famous guy's mind and life and everything. That was really cool. Then last but not least, I read Regretting You by Colleen, and I somehow have no idea where that book went. Like I read it a few days ago and don't know where it is. So I'm really confused about that, but Regretting You is definitely my least favorite book I ever read by Colleen. There was crazy drama throughout the whole thing pretty much, but I was waiting to learn more about the drama and it just never did. And some parts were kind of boring, and there's like a mother-daughter relationship is like the main characters of the book. The way they interacted was kind of weird to me, and I don't know, it was just kind of boring, and I didn't love the characters. They were definitely like going through a really hard time, and that's why they were acting the way they were, but it was just kind of frustrating throughout a lot of the book. I was expecting like way more because it is a Colleen book, but it was still okay, but it just wasn't like a normal Colleen, like I love this, I want to keep reading, I want to keep reading kind of thing. Just not my favorite. I gave it 3 stars. So yeah, that was every book that I read this summer. So many really good reads, a few bad ones scattered in there, but yeah, this was such a good summer of reading, and I hope you guys all have a really good back to school season. I don't know if this video is going to be posted before I do my back to school videos or during, but those are coming, so be excited. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon.